Well, hello, Sonder family. It's really good to see you. My name is Jennifer Ogilvy. I get to be your on-screen facilitator tonight for our final August monthly setup. So this is the fourth one of four, and we are so glad to see you. And joining me on the call, you saw Maya this morning. If you came to the weekly setup, Maya's going to be hanging out in the chat. So we're together again. We're switching roles. And hopefully, we can get you all tidied up with saying goodbye to July and welcoming in August. And we'll be ready to dive in. It's hard to believe that it is August the 1st. It's like we've been sort of waiting. Summer is making everybody droopy. I saw many of you say I'm steamy, I'm hot, but we're one step closer to the Burr months. So it's really good to see you. I want to know, are there any like August birthday people that we can send birthday greetings to? Please drop that in the chat. And if this might be your very first time to check out a social, let us know that as well. We want to give you a big welcome. When you come to these events, it really, the second social of the day, you're double dipping today. I love that. And a little happy sunflower. Thank you for that. Yeah, the Burr months. We're getting there. We're gonna get there. We're before we know it. But I want to know, do we need to celebrate anybody's birthday or say happy anniversary? And this is Latoya's first social. We're glad that you're here, Latoya. We always say this community is like gonna it can become such just a life-giving community for you. If you come to these setups, if you plug into those weekly setups, it gives you this purpose, this focus of accountability, of making sure you're using this beautiful tool that you have committed to. It just, I don't know, I just think it really helps us stay committed to that journey when we can gather together, carve out these hours, all that good stuff. Like, here we are. Leave me alone. I'm working on my journal. So again, welcome. Make sure that chat says to everyone so that we can communicate with each other. There's going to be a whole heck of a lot of sharing tonight. I've got lots of examples of the pages that we'll be talking about. Many of them, well, all of them are yours. I think that there's only a couple of mine in there. And it's because lots of sharing happens in Sonder Club, and we grab those and we want to just like share with everybody because they're great examples. So, yeah, Nicole says she's freezing in the hospital, right? Yeah, that's probably the only cold place there is. So we're welcoming in August. If you think of your each year of your life as a book, we're on chapter 8 of 12. And it also happens to be National Wellness Month. And I kind of thought that was neat the way that falls into place with our new theme. All right, so I'll be referring to that a couple of times because there's so many ways to practice wellness, our emotional wellness, our physical wellness, our relations, the wellness in our relationships, all that good stuff. Very excited, very quickly though. This time of year, whether you're in education or not, I know we've got lots of educators that are getting ready, they're feeling like they're turning into pumpkins because summer's over. But there is something about this reset that happens sort of August, September because our community starts moving in a different way, right? We now have the school zones we have to pay attention to, and kids waiting for buses and all that good stuff. So we are embracing this with Neha with a back to school, back to you event. This is a free, exclusive event. Bring a friend, share the info. She's going to help you kind of, we love to hang out with Meha. She's got her just the passion for her silk and sonder. I always say her baby, what she shares with us. Maya will be in that call as well, hanging out in the chat with you. So, all right, Kimberly, we can start. Kimberly got her journal. I told her, go run. She realized she didn't have it. So glad. Okay, we can get going now. But Maya dropped the link in that. So it'll take you directly to Eventbrite. you can go to Eventbrite also later on your own, and but sign up and bring a friend, get a bestie to do it, and then y'all have something to talk about and some accountability that you can build into your life with somebody who is dear to you. We share these community guidelines when we gather together because we do create safe spaces for one another. And you do know about these. These are the same guidelines for being a part of the Sonder Club community. And so, yeah, we want to make sure that you take a quick look at that. And if you have customer care inquiries, Maya and I do not have that internal access to look at your accounts. So you'll always want to keep this email address at your fingertips for any support you need along the way with your journal. Hello at silkandsonder.com. And our customer care folks will certainly get you sorted out if you have any things that you need assistance with. And it's usually, for the most part, Monday through Friday. Sometimes people will pop on a Saturday, but if you don't hear from someone on a Saturday or Sunday, that's why. And Susan, thank you for that shout out. And Maya and I will make sure that we bubble that back so that they can hear that. It's so easy to talk about when things don't go well, but it's really nice when you have that kudos. So thank you for dropping that in the chat. I agree. They're great, great people. So here we are with Velocity, and I'm going to tell you, I did a setup much earlier in the week, and as I got ready to start thinking about velocity in my life, I was like, ugh, it sounded too physicsy for this English-minded language arts brain, and I was like, I don't know what that's going to look like, and already I have seen that velocity is going to be a pretty exciting theme for the month because we're really leaning in to that arrow in our life that points in the direction we want to go. And I'm all about that. So I've already changed my mind about about this theme. It's hitting better for me already. And this is so cool. There's a little reminder that the compass came before the clock because direction has always been more important than speed. And this is kind of how I'm going to frame out this month. Focus on where I'm heading and not how long it's taking. We tend to put so much pressure on ourselves to get it done, do all the things, and that's not necessarily what we really need. So we're going to start by visiting the letter from Meha. If you are here for the first time, this is going to be that first page that you turn to in your journal. She always gives us this welcome letter and kind of talks about this idea of like this month it's about velocity, but she takes that theme and like puts her spin on it and tells you why this thing? What are we going to do with that? And so I want to encourage you to take a moment to, read through it and maybe ponder on some of those words and see if they resonate with you. The things that popped out for me, it's not just about speed, it's about direction. And do y'all remember those of you who've been around like March? I think it was March of 2024. We did a theme on momentum. And so that word really aligns nicely with velocity, momentum that aligns with your values, like your values, your joy, and your season of life, because we're all in different seasons of life. I always say I'm in my second act, right? I'm a little bit older than a whole lot of you. So my season's going to look different from yours. Some of you are just beginning your career or you're starting college. Your season is very personal to where you are. And then finally, this idea of recalibration, like fine tuning, right? Really paying attention to things in our life and then letting ourselves be pulled forward by purpose and not just pushed by pressure. I was just talking about that, like the pressure to do all the things. So those are like words that really spoke to me. And so I hope that you'll be able to find some words that speak to you and maybe let them sort of become your compass point as we travel through this month. So we're going to start this evening with our acrostic poem. Very excited to say that we have an acrostic page. For those of you who might be new, this is a standard opening activity at our monthly setup. And most months we have to find a note. We use a treasured notes page for it, but this month it is printed on page 19. We're going to do the July reflections, set our intentions for August, and take a look at those two powerful trackers, the mood tracker and the habit tracker. So let's dig into the theme of the month. Again, this is found on page 19, and we'll just kind of think about 8 words or phrases that make us think of velocity. This isn't a right or wrong activity. This is sort of like what is speaking to your soul right now at this moment. Now, I know lots of you come to a couple of these monthly setups. So I've also got those alternate activities if you've already done your acrostic, or if acrostic is not your vibe, you might want to open the month with a different opening activity. Again, we don't grade journals in this place, so don't worry about it. You do you. You do what's right for you. So, page 19, you can see the word velocity. The lines there are equal to the word birthday. Someone did a birthday. I think it was Megan, I believe. And this is her birthday acrostic for her birthday month. So you could change that up if that's something that speaks to you. You could welcome in just the month of August with doing an acrostic poem for August. Maya's fabulous. She built this slide with all the V words. I was curious last night when Maya was doing a monthly setup, and I was like, what V word are you starting your acrostic poem with? Because that was a lot of fun to see the direction that the poems went after you landed on a word. We've got this great poem as an example, as inspiration, vibrant energy set in motion, every second pushing forward fast, leaping ahead with pure devotion, outrunning shadows of the past, catching the wind, a sudden streak into the distance, sharp and clear, toward the horizon that we seek. Years of momentum happening here. I thought that one was beautiful. I just did single words this month. I just have a list of single words. And our Sonder family has already posted some examples from our previous setup. So here are some great inspiration for you. Love this one with that starts with vroom. I thought that was a lot of fun. And then energy, let's go onward and upward, cruising right along, and lots of exclamation marks there. So I'll be scrolling through these slides while you're working on them. So perhaps these will inspire you. We're also going to invite you to share your poem in the chat because something you say or a word you think of might hit just right for someone else. And then if you've already done that acrostic, but you want to really start working on this idea of velocity in a creative way, you could write a letter saying goodbye to July and all the sensory stuff that we did, and hello to August and what August is going to bring. You could go work on your own personal definition of velocity in that little space on page 3. Or maybe you write a poem, a different type of poem about velocity, like a haiku or a tanka poem, and the way you set that up. I've got those two little graphics there. And then Alicia does a highlight poem with that letter we were talking about, with Mayha's letter. And this is her highlight poem from last month. So she looked at savoring and highlighted words throughout Mayha's letter and came up with this beautiful reflection, this highlight poem, very similar to the idea of a blackout poetry when you black out words you don't want to use. And she ended up putting together an absolutely beautiful original poem. Finally, if you are looking for another way to embrace a welcome to velocity, I have some affirmation fill in the blanks here. And these are all kind of velocity, momentum, forward moving affirmations. And so maybe you pick a couple of those and you fill them out and they show up somewhere in your journal. I'm going to stop talking while you begin working on this, and we invite you to share anything that you are comfortable sharing because you will inspire one another. And again, I'll be going back through these slides so you can take another look. All right, I think we have a good start as we start thinking about as we begin thinking about our new theme. Good working. Thank you for sharing in the chat. Those of you who had time. And speaking of time, we want to make sure that we have plenty of time to go through all these slides. So we are going to move on to our next portion of the setup. But if you need to kind of work on this a little bit more and tweak it, feel free to do so. And that way we can make sure we get you out of here. We're going to start on page 8 with which is the July reflections. This is such a powerful activity because when we stop and reflect over what the past month has brought us, it becomes this exercise in gratitude, even gratitude for the tough stuff that maybe you're celebrating. It's behind me now. I know some of y'all are in the midst of some stuff. Have gratitude that maybe you're going to start seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. But I love just taking a beat, taking a pause, and looking at what the month brought us. So we're going to start by looking at the things that we're celebrating, all the wins that happened. They can be big, they can be tiny. They're just things that made you happy, that feel like an accomplishment, a win, a smile. And then, of course, life is full of balance. So there are those challenges. Again, some of you are still in the midst of July challenges. Um, but think about those things that were maybe out of your control. Maybe there's some relationship stuff at work or, something that you just feel kind of a little powerless over, but you're trying to rethink about it. Like, how can I reframe this? What can I learn? Where am I going when I think about these challenges? Could just be stumbling blocks. Sometimes we have control over this challenges and sometimes we don't. And so that's also powerful when we're writing them down. It helps us kind of flesh that out. Now, we offer the Rosebud Thorn Reflection every week in our weekly setup. So maybe go visit those again, see how you did. When you're looking at your wins, go look at your trackers. How did those go? Were you able to meet some of the goals and knock off some of those to do? Celebrate those in that wins list. We also want to think about those favorite moments that we had this month. And a really great tip is just go see what captured your attention long enough to take a screenshot, right? Or to take a picture. What does that photo roll look like from the last 31 days? That can also inspire this space greatly. I'm going to put on a little bit of music while you work on the top of this page, and then I'll come back in and we'll jump down and discuss the start, stop, and continue spaces. So we want to know what we're celebrating. Of course, be sure to share in the chat. And then if you feel like you just need some virtual, hugs, let us know what might be challenging for you so we can put that out into the universe. Continue to work on your reflections. And while you do that, I'm just going to scroll through and show you some examples of that start, stop, and continue space at the bottom of this page. And I'll put on some more music and then you can finish that page up. But I want to make sure that we go through some of those slides because there's some great ways of kind of setting this space up. And I feel like this can be such a good foundation for the rest of our month. So, this space, you can actually use this, sort of theme it if you've got something in your life that is feeling difficult. Maybe there's a relationship, or you're working on some financial wellness or some physical health things. Kind of give it a theme and then frame that theme out with what do I need to start? With my financial health? What do I need to stop in regards to my financial health? What do I need to continue in regards to my financial health? Just an example of that. You can also just put like three things here, right? Like I need to start three chores because I want to keep things clean and I need to stop eating out so much and I want to continue spending time with friends and family. So that's really great. But there's a little list over there on some single areas of growth if you really want to hone in here. And of course, the things that we want to start are just like these new things we want to try in our life. It's important to always be, flexible with yourself and your expectations. And so starting things can be very inspiring and it keeps us moving forward. We don't get stagnated. And then there's always things we need to stop doing. They're not serving us. And so consider that. And then, of course, we do a lot of stuff really nicely. So let's keep doing that. Now, you could break this down by taking a moment to do a little deeper reflection on like, okay, what I want to start doing, why and how. Like you see this upper example there. They're asking themselves these extra questions. Why is this important and how am I going to make this happen? And that can really direct the direction of where this goes. Like, does this show up in habit trackers? Do these become part of our goals every week? The one below that, what is it, why, and how? So, asking yourself those questions can really set a good foundation for the month that you want to have. This one is so great. The one up at the top, the question that they've written to themselves over that washi tape says, who do I want to be? And what must I do to have what I want? And so you can see the spaces have been repurposed into I want to be, and it's less burned out, less stress, more nurturing. And what do I need to have? Energy, enthusiasm, more joy, peace of mind. And so, what do I need to do for that to happen? I'm going to prioritize simplify, pray, trust, have mindfulness. So, really kind of setting this. Can you see how maybe this one could really inspire our intentions page? And then This is sort of themed out with, okay, I want to start using my daily pages. And instead of stopping, we've changed that space into how am I going to do that? And it's setting them up in advance, trying different layouts, putting reminders on phone so that you remember to go check in with self. And why is that? Because I need more mindfulness and structure in my day. And so, the box, it's kind of a little simplified way of really focusing in on that one thing. And then finally, another way to use this space that's a little bit different is to ask yourself, how am I feeling and why do I feel that way? I'm feeling this way because of, but I want to feel or I need, and you can fill that in. So there's two super examples of that. So let's work on this bottom part of the page, and then we can take all this information that we're writing down and take it into setting up our intentions for the month. All righty. So we sort of have that direction set in place now. I want to encourage you to really pay attention to this little bottom section as we go through our month. Check in before you set up your weekly habits and activities and goals for the week, and make sure that you are aligning with these things that you said you wanted to start, stop, and continue, or how you want to be, have, and do. I hope that some of those these different ways of utilizing these spaces, but yet creating the direction that we're going, you found helpful. So now let's take these over into our August intentions. You're going to find those on page 9. And again, another reminder, August is National Wellness Month. So how does that look when we're maybe looking at these areas of our intentions? We have these pre-printed topics: spiritual health, personal life, physical health, key relationships, and money management. But I'm going to encourage you to really think about, do those speak to you? If if you're like, I just don't know that I need a professional goal space right now, feel free to repurpose it or leave it blank. Some folks will leave a couple of these spaces blank and they use them as a check-in throughout the month, and they'll make a little note. I actually have mine divided up into, the four sections that I'll be using. I'm not going to do six intentions. I'm doing emotional and spiritual health, physical health, and that's all around eating, moving, resting. So being very intentional with what I set up there. My personal life is actually being paired with relationships, so personal life and relationships, family, friends. And then my little space at the bottom is creative life. So giving you that permission to just maybe focus in on three or four things rather than six, unless that's speaking to you. But sometimes intentions to me feel very overwhelming. So August has some fun facts. Maybe some of these will, you want to add, maybe, in personal life, you want more fun. So you're going to celebrate National Watermelon Day and Waffle Day. So, perhaps that will inspire you. And then we love this graphic: 5 days to schedule every month. Have an unplugged day, and that one's hard, even to stay off the socials, but just not even using your phone. Oh my goodness. A self-care day, a reset day that's sort of focused on decluttering and tidying up, a learning day, giving yourself the gift of knowledge by trying something new, watching something new, reading something that's going to inform you. And then just a fun day. Embrace play. We often don't do that. So those 5 days can really influence how we look at what we want for our intentions during the month of velocity. We always like to throw this little graphic in with the post-it notes as that reminder that if you're not exactly sure where you want to land, maybe you work some things out on post-it notes first before you commit to the paper. You can focus on an area in your life. Again, if you're looking at health, what does health look like in these different spaces? I've got some really great examples from the Sonder family to look at these spaces using stickers and drawings and colors, and just sort of that idea of like more, I want more of something, the and less of something, the duality, more and less, or I invite and I release. So that idea of duality is a really nice way to set these up. Here are some other fun days this month, or these are the national months up: dog month, wellness month, goat cheese month. We were all saying yesterday we can get behind that one. Sandwich month, crayon month, happiness month, golf month, eye exam month. Are you past due for your physical, your eye exam? Maybe that goes into your physical health space and you're going to go take care of those eyes. And then National Family Fun Month. Is there a space maybe in your key relationships you embrace? Like, how can you embrace family fun? So maybe those will drive that. Now, here I'm going to show you a few examples from y'all. Some of these are old, some are kind of new. Maybe you like to doodle, so you decorate your page with doodles to inspire this space. If you have trouble remembering to check in with those trackers or with this track, with your intentions, use a tracker, and you can see this one in the middle. There's like one main word there for the intention. And then this has been taken over into a repurposed mood tracker. And so they are checking in with those intentions to hold themselves accountable to make sure that that is showing up in their life the way they want it to. The one all the way over on the right is inspired by quotes. And I love the top one because For personal life, embrace the inquisitive spirit within you. Meha, our founder, is quoted there. But maybe you go find some very inspiring quotes. And if you're looking for some, remember that in our weekly setups up at the top corner of those weekly setups, we've got some great quotes right in the top of the corner there, and maybe some of those will show up in these spaces. Let's see, I love the idea of a little flip note on top. So perhaps you write your intention and then you support it with a quote or a scripture or some type of reminder with a little flip sheet on top of it, like you see the example on the left. And then the one on the right, notice that those categories are all changed up to meet where this person wants to be. They are focusing on their empowered choices, self expression, freedom to explore, embracing solitude, skill expansion, and strength and resilience. So they're just doing some work that is very personal to themselves, and they've changed this page up so that it reflects on their own personal journey. Sometimes when words don't come, you can go grab those stickers, and those stickers can inspire this space. And then I spoke about the idea of the duality. And so you can notice on the bottom left, we look at spiritual health. This person repurposed, retitled this space mental health, and they've got more and less. They have repurposed key relationships for their hobbies. They want to make sure that they are being intentional about carving out space for that. And right below that, they want to make sure that they are reading. And so they've given a whole intention space to that because that is what's important to them. You can also use the monthly theme for this space. Now, I have the example up there in the upper right. It was connection. And so they used the word connect for these spaces. But what does velocity or creating a sense of direction in each of these spaces look like for you? You could additionally put these in the way, write them like they're an affirmation, a powerful statement. I can fill in the blank, or I will, I commit to, I intend to, and you fill in that sentence. Finally, I loved this one on the left because they are embracing how they want to feel in each one of these areas in their life. So you can see spiritual health, I want to feel grounded. What am I going to work on? And what are my habits that will support that? And they did that type of setup for each one of those spaces. I thought that was pretty cool. So I'll stop talking. I'm going to give you a pretty good space to work on these. I think these are pretty heavy things that need to be taken seriously because we're going to check back every week or so and make sure we're focused on the direction we want to go. All righty. I'll go back through these slides while you're looking at this too. right. Good work. The intentions, they're such a personal reflection, right? You know exactly what you're needing. I like the way that I love how you're sharing. And if I didn't already say thank you, thank you for posting in Sonder Club because it's where we get these great ideas that we can share with our whole Sonder family at large when we do have these socials. So thank you for that. Really appreciate that. And I was kind of going through, Carly went to the Christmas in July exclusive on Thursday night, and she's taking some of those things and incorporating them into the setup for the month. She's trying to embrace the things that we talked about keeping that joyful spirit going, not just at the holidays, but as we travel toward those holidays. Janine has posted her page in Sonder Club. She said she had already done these, but she was working on some doodles. So you could go take a look at that. And then Carly shared, Sonder Coach learnings that she is discovering as she's working that coaching program with Silk and Sonder. Those things are informing how she's setting up the intention. So I love how intentional we are all being with this page. So thank you for taking time for that reflection. And again, I'm going to encourage you to find a way to remind yourself. Let me go back and look at this. Maybe you go put a little note on all the weekly spreads now before, so that when you get ready to set up each one of your weeks, you are going back and looking at not just the intentions page, but also that start, stop, and continue space. And that way it sort of ties it all in together. When I first started this Silk and Sonder journey, I tended just to do activities kind of, I didn't do a good job of melding them all together. So I really want to encourage you to hold yourself accountable to doing that. So we're going to be talking about our mood and habit trackers now. I love that. Phyllis is saying she schedules a little check-in, check monthly intentions on Fridays. Like Friday is the day that that she holds herself accountable to doing that. So maybe you find your day and make sure that you are in alignment with that. So we're going to start with that mood tracker. So just, we'll be flipping that page over. And this tracker can, of course, help us see where there are trends in our life. I've got a great example of someone's completed tracker to show you when we do notice those trends, what that could look like. And when we notice trends, it helps us, kind of make shifts if we're able to. Maybe we notice certain days, certain feelings come into play. And then when that happens, we can be very intentional about showing up for ourselves in a way that will help us have a more positive mood. So this month's tracker is the circle tracker. We've got, team circle, team hexagon. Some of us, it doesn't matter. We just love a tracker. And I love this tracker too for maybe making additional copies of if there are some other areas in your life. I have often said if I were still working outside the home, I would have kept one of these at my desk with some of my daily tasks for checking in and making sure that I was doing work. So I would have had like this work tracker that was a repurposed mood tracker that I would have probably just kept separate from my journal. I would have just had it out there. So maybe there's these things that you need to do at work and it shows up via a tracker. I love a tracker. I just, that accountability and getting to write and check things off, it just feeds my soul. If you're doing a mood tracker for your moods, we recommend, tracking a couple of negative feelings, maybe a couple kind of neutral-ish feelings, and then a couple of positive feelings. I've got that feelings wheel for you to reference again. Maybe you're focusing on direction in your life, that idea of velocity playing into the moods. And then there's lots of ways to fill this in. Some people will do like a morning check-in or an evening check-in. Sometimes they'll divide the space in half and do a morning check-in and an evening check-in. I've got an example of that. And sometimes people will just start putting in. As things come up, they may put a little dot to remind them, that they had this moment where they felt a certain way. You could lots of different ways to use this. So here is that feelings wheel. This wheel we suggest, especially if you're kind of new at using a mood tracker, maybe go with this. We always say the six biggies there, and those are the ones in the core of this wheel. They're also around the outside, written in the big words. But then you notice that this wheel has like these pie slices for each one of these core words, and it just gets more detailed moods. Like for love, there's several words that can mean love. So you might find that a little bit where it just really helps you look, figure out what you're looking for as you go to the outside of that wheel and get very specific with some of those moods that you want to track. This mood tracker on the left is such a great example of how you can notice a trend. This person has highlighted their weekends. You can see they've drawn like boxes around the weekends. And I noticed immediately every single weekend, at least one of the days has a joy sticker in it. And they're all, pretty content and joyful. Those are those days off, right? If you look on that tracker, there's very few weekdays that they were tracking joy. So this provided some feedback just by looking at, what does this look like? And when was I sad? Oh, well, gosh, that very first week of the month I was sad. So then you can go, what was going on that every day or most of the days I felt I recorded that I felt sad. Is it like a big push at work? And so there was some stress involved. It can really help you collect that information about what's going on in your life. And then we have some other examples there. The one on the bottom right, you can see they've divided that in half, and they're doing a morning check-in and an evening check-in with how they're feeling. Now, we do a lot of repurposing in Silk and Sonder, and this tracker lends itself nicely to be repurposed. There's a few ideas for repurposing. I really love this. So, it's still kind of mood adjacent, but this is instead of tracking your mood, it is sort of providing a menu. And so, when you find yourself kind of slumping a little bit, you can go to this menu and you are set up to take a choice between reading, spending time with friends, maybe attending a Sonder social, or snuggling, or spending time with someone, having an emotional support coffee, or going for a walk, grabbing a piece of fruit. So it's all these things that will boost someone's mood if they're just feeling like they getting in a slump and they need a little oomph to their life. And so these are great ways of kind of still using it for affecting mood, but in a little bit different way, a little repurpose to meet what you need. Lots of ways to repurpose an anxiety tracker, spending tracker, symptom tracker. Maybe all your symptoms go right here, and you track the things, and then you've got everything in one place to share with your healthcare provider. I a lot of times I use mine for a book tracker, and I track. I just write the name of the book, give it a color, and if I read it that day, I just scribble in that color for that day. A happiness tracker, calories, workouts, activities, steps, energy levels. I mean, do you repurpose this? If you do, drop that in the chat. Bobby Joe just said she's using it kind of the daily self-care, all the things that she does: hydration, skincare, movement, digital detox, hygiene, and reading and writing. So it's the things that are feeding her soul, taking care of her physical health. So drop in the chat if you do repurpose this tracker. Here are some examples of repurposing this space. We've got a calm tracker. There's a physical care tracker, very similar to what Bobby Joe's going to do. They've got movement, stretch, shower, sleep. And then I love this manifest happiness tracker, very much like that mood boost tracker. And it's leaning into things like making connections, creativity, a compliment to someone, smile at someone, enjoy life. So this was someone trying to be very intentional with the happiness in their day to day. So let's work on this. Want to hear what you do. So drop that in the chat and then we'll go look at that habit tracker. I love that Maya's going to be trekking a belly laugh every day. Isn't that fun? That's talk about a mood boost. You'll go be looking for that. She had a great little graphic in her monthly setup. So if you're interested in looking at that, you can go to the YouTube page and pull up her monthly setup and scroll over to the mood tracker and see that. And it was a really sweet little quote about it's like those glimmers, that we overlook. It makes you slow down, but a belly laugh is that's good for the soul. I love that, Maya. So now our final tracker is this habit tracker wheel. I love this one. For this month, mine is all about my morning routine. I got to get it shored up. I've fallen off the wagon. And so every one of the things on my habit tracker all have to do when I get going in the mornings. Things like make my bed, lemon water, brush my teeth, get dressed, put on sunscreen. I've just kind of lost my routine, and so I'm gonna tighten that up. And so this whole tracker is dedicated to that time of my day. Maybe something like that will work for you. Um, we love this tracker to start, stop, and continue things in our life. So again, go look at the bottom of that page and the things that you want to start doing. Is there something that could show up in this tracker? And the stuff you want to stop doing. How does that look in this tracker? And then, of course, the habits that are bringing value that you're already doing that you want to continue, put those on this tracker. Give yourself that automatic win. So, yeah, go take a quick look at page 8 and see if that will inform your tracker. Of course, we're thinking velocity, so finding the direction for that tracker, you could have a theme, another theme other than the theme of the month. Maybe like I'm doing morning routines. Maybe you need to be grounded, looking for joy, delight. Um, what do your habits look like from last month? When you look at that tracker, are there lots of blank spaces? Maybe a habit needs to be tweaked. And remember, give yourself time to get a new habit hardwired into your brain. The harder, bigger habit it is, the longer it takes to hardwire and become part of your rhythms of the day. So give yourself that space. Maybe most of those habits are showing up again from July. They're gonna inform August. And of course, if you're starting something new, pair it with something you're already doing. That's called a habit stack. And that will help you, commit to that new thing. And then, of course, you don't have to fill out every line on this tracker. Now, we have this beautiful mandala that someone is doing. I just scribble in mine, kind of, black out the spaces. Maya always say this would kind of stress us out, but it's the artistic element that would, so, but for other people, this becomes a calming exercise. So, like we say, you do you. We love to point out both of these have highlighted the weekend days because maybe your weekends look a little bit different from your weekdays, or maybe you just give yourself permission to take off on the weekends. So you can see how both of all the weekends are indicated on both of these trackers, just to let these users know that that's the weekend. Things might look different. This is an old tracker of mine on the left. To show that you can use these spaces for things other than just a check. So I actually tracked my steps. I realized I hadn't been walking as much. And so I tried to start paying attention to just the average number of steps I had every day. And it was much lower than it used to be. And then a social connection, I put the initials of the person that I reached out to that particular day. And so, there's ways to use that tracker that don't involve just putting like a little sticker there or coloring it in. And a reminder that some of these habits may show up in that weekly habit and activity tracker. You see the blank one there at the bottom, and that's okay. Or the habit and activity things that you do on your weekly setup may just reflect that week you're having. And yeah, that tracking connection with friends, that was really helpful for me. And it was either a phone call or a text or even putting a little snail mail. But anytime I purposely, intentionally made a connection, I put those initials there. So it worked really well for me, Carly. I hope maybe you could try that and see what you think. This, again, I'm doing mine this month all around my morning routine. You can see the example of someone tracking all their symptoms. And now they'll have everything in one space for their physician. The days that we don't get done, just give yourself grace. This is data. This is a piece of paper. It's neutral. If you notice a habit's not happening the way you want it to, maybe you just need to tweak the habit and put something else there. And then again, you can see this person over on the right kind of writing stuff out around the outside edge of that. There were some days that habits didn't happen and they just put, I was overwhelmed. Just that reminder. Again, data. And let's see here. Then we've got a little more information. You can see that their rest days are written on. My birthday right here, it says was this person's birthday was on the 17th, in case habits looked different that way. The one on the right, tracking four things, just four things. That's what they need. And a couple more examples here. They've got the one on the left is using like the wheel of life. So there's a category for each one of their habits or each one of their habits is drawn from that category. And then there's some inspo ideas. Let me put on a little bit of music and I'll go back through these. Let us know what you'll be tracking this week or this month. Caitlin, I love that you asked that question about simplifying habits. Yes, make it, James Clear always says, make it as simple as possible. And I'll give you an example. I've been trying to increase like sit-ups in my core, working on my core. And so I put on my weekly habit tracker last week, 5 sit-ups. And I did more than five every day. But there was one day I was really tired, so I just did the five. But that little bit, the smaller habit led me to do more. But if I had put 50 on there, I don't really think I could have done 50. But if I'd put a larger number there, I wouldn't have done it consistently. But 5 sit-ups, I did consistently because it was a smaller bit and I had bonus. So yeah, if we want to read 30 minutes, write down, read 5 minutes, and then you can celebrate that you did it. Yeah, set the bar low and celebrate your success. And something's better than nothing, right? So even if it's just 5 minutes, even if you'd love to read an hour, 5 minutes was better than no minutes. So set that bar low and give yourself that grace. That was such a great question to ask and a good reminder for us all. So, of course, we want to see your setup in Sonder Club because maybe you'll see it eventually here. I know there's some old examples here, some new examples here. We love it. We love when you share. So please post your pages in Sonder Club. That shout out again for our free exclusive coming up in 17 days, getting into that back to school, back to you mindset with Meha. You'll love this. We always love spending time and just taking in that energy about Silk and Sonder. Also, if you do coaching, even if you don't, there's a new part of that to do a relationship reading. Maya's going to drop a link in the chat. If you want to try it out, grab that link and you can work on just go check that little portion out. And then if you're on the coaching platform, you'll be able to do a relationship reading and see how well y'all do. So Maya just put those there. You can do that sneak peek if you're not already in Sonder Coach. And speaking of Sonder Coach, we want to remind you that it is there 24/7. That could be something that you look for in your life. I know so many of you utilize that great platform. So without without further ado, you did it. We're ready for August. And I'll see y'all on Monday morning if you can make it for a weekly setup. I send you lots of light and love. And Maya and I are so glad that you carved out this time for yourself today. See you soon, Sonder family.
That's